Okay, so today I'm going to go through the whole application of how I apply my acrylic fake nails. I already took my electrical drill and kind of went through all of them to remove any shine that I may have, and I went and already did the cuticle, and I took my old nails off, so these nails are kind of, they look really bad from pulling them off, but we're gonna go ahead and fix that. So after I went ahead with my e-drill, I also put the hydrator on, and I used the one from Sally's Beauty Secret. And what this does is basically just to take out any dust that's left over. It keeps your surface nice and clean and dry. That way it's gonna help in the actual fake nail sticking. So what I'm gonna do is I already measured out my tips that I'm gonna be using. The tips are not that expensive. I actually bought this whole box from Amazon. It only cost me like $5 and it's 500, and it's the half tips because I don't like the full tips. When you're applying your tips, you always want to make sure that the actual tip fits from side to side. You never want to keep any openings on the actual nail in case like water gets in there or dirt, and that's how a lot of people's nails turn green, and it's just a really bad job. So even if you find a tip that's a little bigger, you can always just take your file and you can kind of just smooth them down until it actually fits. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and start and apply my first one. So I just use this little kiss glue, any kind of glue, actually any kind of nail glue. So for me, I always like to make sure that my nail doesn't stick up. So I just take it and I apply a little bit of a curve right here, only because I think nails that stick up look really disgusting. It's just not my thing. So I always like them to look a little curved. So there goes my tip. As you can see, it's a little curve. And what I do is I just make sure that the glue is there. And you always want to double check it. What I do is I kind of just put it on the other view, just looking at it from the back of my hand to make sure that it is straight. That's that. I'm gonna go ahead and apply the rest of them. I'm just gonna measure, make sure that it fits from side to side. I'm gonna put some glue. And you can either put the glue on the tip itself or you can put it on your actual nail. I like to see where I'm doing it, so I kind of just go from there. And just hold it. See, it's a little curve. It's up to you, however you want to do it. Everyone has their personal preferences. I've always just done my nails this way. The next one, make sure it fits from side to side. You always want to make sure that it's straight. Look at it from this position. Just holding it for a few seconds. And it can look to see if it's straight or not. That's how I measure mine. Again, everyone is different. Last one. So these are how the tips look. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut them down using my Kiss tip cutter, how long I want them. You can either use this or a nail cutter. I find for myself that when I use this, it comes out a lot straighter instead of trying to use a nail cutter because the whole thing can't fit. Me personally, I like my nails a little longer, So I'm not going to be cutting that much off of them. This one's still a little bit long. Just gonna go ahead and clip it back. And when you do file them, they kind of get a little shorter. So even if you keep them a little longer when you first do them, when you file them, the length will go. As for me, so my preferred shape is always coffin. My husband doesn't like pointy nails. So to achieve the coffin, I kind of just go on the corners, on the sides, and I just cut it a little bit. That way it's going to be a lot easier when I file them. And if you do this now before you apply your acrylic, it's going to save you a lot of time and it's going to be a lot easier once you go through the whole acrylic process. That's why I kind of, and doing my own nails, this always takes time. So after I cut them, I'm going to start shaping them into the shape that I want. And what I do is I kind of just rotate back and forth from side to side. And kind of just hit it on an angle, making sure that this is desired length. Always want to make sure that you always get the bottoms as well. Want everything to look the same. So kind of how I measure it to make sure I'm doing the right thing. This little ridge right here is showing me that it's not the same length as this one. So instead of me filing on both sides, I'm just going to concentrate on this side just until I get that shape the way I want to. So as you can see, this edge of my nail is actually not that straight. So what I'm going to do is the side that's longer, I'm only going to file in on that side on an angle until I end up going straight down and meeting it, and now it's straight. So I'm just going to hit the side walls of the nail one more time. And then is done and it's ready to move on to the next one. Okay, so that one's done, and now we're kind of just going to go through the rest of them and do the same exact thing until we get the shape that we want. So you want to focus on the sides with whatever shape you're going to do. With the coffin shape, I kind of just go back and forth, a couple strokes back and forth, just to make sure that I'm not doing one side more than the other. I want to just make sure that I'm hitting the front the right way, making sure that I'm getting the sides the way that they're supposed to, so they can have that square coffin shape. I always, when I do my own nails, I kind of just face the nail towards myself just so that I can make sure that what I see is what I want. I'm going to go ahead and hit my file and a little bit of an angle so that it can start bringing that shape in. And you're just going to repeat the process for the rest of them until you're ready to start the next step. Okay, so I'm done shaping this whole hand. Kind of make sure I shape them the right way. This is my coffin shape. So now what I'm going to do now is the tip of the fake nail, you can feel like the rigid surface. So I'm going to take my hand drill and I'm just going to drill it until it's smooth, because it's going to be better for the application of the acrylic. So I'm just going to kind of go back and forth on the actual tip here. I'm kind of just going to smooth that out on both ends. And so it kind of looks like it's my actual tip. And if you touch it, it's actually smooth and you can feel the ridges of the tip. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for this whole hand. And then I'm going to get it ready to prep and then start with the acrylic. And then what I do is, since there's shine on the tip, I just kind of do the whole thing. And then I just kind of go back up to the cuticles. And when you touch it, it's nice and smooth and it looks like it's all one. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the rest of the hand, and then it'll be ready for application. Okay, so I went ahead and sanded everything down. Everything's nice and smooth. The next step, what you're going to do is you're actually going to take your nail primer, and this is what's going to help the acrylic bond to your natural nail and this. The only bad thing with primer is if you have any little cuts or any little marks, it's going to burn you a little bit. So you want to make sure that you get the burn-free primer. I bought this from Sally's, but unfortunately this is not the burn one, the burn-free one. So it is going to burn a little bit because I took my old nails off and I kind of ripped them a little bit. So and what I do is I kind of just put it on there like nail polish. I put it the whole way just so that I don't have any problems when I'm applying my acrylic. Just go down. And it dries on its own. Just there. And this is the last step before you start your acrylic application. So what I use the Mia Secret, the liquid monomer, and I got this off of Amazon. And I started using this, I think, out of all the liquid that I've been using, this one is a lot better. It's easier, it doesn't clump as much, it's really good. And I also use all the Mia Secret acrylic powders. I also use the color powders, which I'm going to be doing. Instead of nail polish, I started using the acrylic powder. It lasts a lot longer, it's a lot better. And I got all this stuff off of Amazon and eBay, so it's not this little thing. I've had it for about 6 months already, and a little bit goes a long way. So so what I do personally, I am going to use the colors, but I also do one coat of the clear just to kind of have it formed already, the nail. Some people just go in straight with the colors, but for me, I found that I actually form it first and then I do it. So this is my acrylic brush. So this is a number 14 brush, oval. There's different sizes, different brushes. For me, this is probably like the third or fourth brush that I've bought. For me, it works the best because I can get into those hard parts here in between and I can just kind of form it as I go. So this is my little dapping dish, and This stuff smells really bad, so you always want to make sure that you have it there. Once you use what's in here, and if there's some left over, you never want to put it back in your bottle. One application, one and done. So just gonna go ahead with my brush, and what I do with my brush is I wet it and I look for any little bubbles that come up, and I kind of just get the bubbles out because you want the acrylic to go on smoothly. You don't want it bumpy, you don't want to go too thick, and I kind of just give it a couple strokes at the edge, and then I kind of just go from there. So when applying the acrylic, I take my brush, I kind of hit just one side and I dry it. With that side that I dried, I go into my liquid, I grab some monomer and acrylic powder, and I kind of just take it and I start in the middle. So I do a 3 bead process. And I kind of just do the first one, which is right there in the middle. And as it's forming, I literally just drag it down. And I always make sure that I wipe the sides of the nails. Making sure that I'm forming it as I am bringing it down. My brush has some glitter on it. And I go ahead. So I kind of let it just dry a little bit before I apply, because you want it to be able to be formable, where you can form it. If it's too liquidy, it's going to be runny. Kind of just pat them there. Oh, still forming. This is the body. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my last bead at the top. Just put that in there. And I'm still bringing it down. And I always make sure, because sometimes you acrylic runs, I'm wiping the side. You get acrylic on your skin, it's very hard to take off. And I always just wipe. That way the acrylic forms. Just run into the nail. So as it starts drying, that's what's going to form. And then once it's dried, then we can go ahead and file some more, and then we will sand it and it'll be ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and do the rest of them, and then I'll... Okay, so I went ahead and did the clear acrylic coating on all of them, as you can see, and then I went ahead and I used my e-drill and I just smoothed everything out so it looks like an actual nail. So I'm actually ready for the next step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Mia Secret acrylic powder. I personally like using acrylic powder as nail polish only because it lasts longer and it also makes your nail stronger. And it's just like any other application. I'm just going to go ahead and take my brush. I'm going to be using these two colors. This turquoise is from the Aladdin collection, and then this silver is from the Elegant collection. So I always like to have different color nails, I don't like anything that looks normal, like everyone else's stuff. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing. Let it dry a little bit. And with this one, I'm kind of just gonna apply it like if I was applying nail polish. So I'm just gonna go ahead, drag it down. And then with the acrylic powder, the color acrylic powder, you can also use the gel top coat. And that's what I'm going to do. Once it dries, I'm going to do the sanding, do everything, and then I'm going to finish it off with the clear top coat. I just want to make sure that I'm covering the full nail. And I kind of do it the same way as I do my acrylic application, just to kind of make sure that I'm hitting everything correctly. The 3 bead step always works for me. So make sure I'm covering everything, and I want to keep it as smooth as possible. I always want to make sure that I'm covering the tips and the front. And when you're applying acrylic, you want to make sure that you never get the acrylic on the cuticles. That's going to cause it not to stick real good. You're going to get a lot of lifting, and you never want to put acrylic on yourself or anyone else's nails that you're doing on the cuticles. So I'm just going to keep going down, smoothing it out. And the colors like these, they do bleed a lot with the glitter and the silver. Just got a little naked spot right here in the front. And hit from top. I want to make sure that like when you're painting your nails with nail polish, always drag it down so your tips don't look bare. And that's how this color looks. I kind of just want to let it dry a little bit. You want to see the application is even. Get it as smooth as possible. I'm still gonna go ahead and sand it down as well, just kind of buff it so that it's nice and smooth. That's how that one looks. I'm just gonna go ahead and do one application of the turquoise color, and then I'll finish the rest, and then I'll come back and you can see how they look. You always want to make sure when you pick up the acrylic that you'll see that the powder, you're not putting dry powder on. Because then it will never form the right way once you're putting on the actual color or clear acrylic or whatever. So with this one, I'm just gonna, since I put the powder already, what I do is I just continuously dip my brush a little bit just so that it can kind of smooth the powder around, and I don't have to keep adding layers of powder because then it's going to be too thick and you don't want it all big and bulky, and it does dry very fast, so you want to make sure that you are ready to start forming it and bringing it down and everything. And I'm going to actually take this and hit it on the side. Just kind of you always want to make sure you wipe any excess powder off your brush as well, because then you're just going to keep shifting the same powder around. You're not going to get anything, any results. Make sure I cover the front, and then we'll go ahead and hit the back. Covering the whole nail. It's literally just like if you were painting with nail polish, but it does last a lot longer than nail polish, and I think it looks a lot better. That's just me. I always want to make sure I don't get any on my skin. A little liquid. So in the light, I can see that once I buff it out, or there's like a little bit that didn't cover fully, so you can kind of just hit again, like if you were doing a second coating of nail polish. I'm just gonna put that in there, let it dry a little bit, and then I'm gonna start bringing it back down. Okay, so those are the two colors that I'm using. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of them, and then throw some clear nail polish, the gel top coat, and then let it cure for about 60 seconds, and then it'll be all done. Okay, so I went ahead and finished and put the colors on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take my e-drill, and I'm just gonna go ahead and sand everything down, make sure everything is nice and smooth. Making sure I hit the top, and kind of just come all the way back, and then I can go ahead and use my sanding block, sand it out, and then I'll be ready to put the top coat on there and then stick it on the way. So just kind of, you don't want to do it too hard, because you want to make sure you don't take the acrylic powder off. Kind of just making sure that everything is nice and smooth. That way there's no ridges, it's not bumpy. Kind of just going this back and forth kind of motion. I try to make sure I just go. And the direction doesn't really matter as long as you just do it evenly. So I do side to side, and then I do up this way, and it down as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest. Then when I'm done, I will go ahead and put my top coat on, and then it'll be nice and shiny, and it'll be all done. Okay, so this is my final result. I went ahead and put in my top coat, which I also got from Amazon. It was probably like $7. And then my little LED lamp, and it's, then you put it in, 30 seconds, I take it out, and then I do it again, and this is it. So again, the majority of the stuff I used was Mia Secrets. I can leave the powder colors, all that stuff below, and I literally bought everything from Amazon. I found that it was the cheapest to go through Amazon and it was quicker. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Thanks.